How's it going, guys? So I want to do something a little different today and show you the popping cork. And this is something, it's kind of a, for me, it tends to be around this season is when I find myself using a popping cork more often. And one of the reasons that I use a popping cork is it's like the water starts getting a little cooler. The fish seem to stay in one place, and you can't seem to get them on a lure as far as like going right by them. They don't want to make a whole lot of effort. So it's kind of like when you see I've gotten used to probably seeing where bait is. Let's say you see a big area of bait and you're running a lure through there, and you're just not getting it, you're not finding it, and you're trying to get that skunk off, and so that's when I would typically throw a popping cork. If you see me throwing a popping cork, I'm having some trouble normally. And so one of the things that I want to show you is kind of the different styles of popping corks. There is probably about four to five different styles. I got a few examples here, and let's go fishing.
I don't know if you could see that, but it's absolutely amazing. Didn't you see that? Look at that sucker.
All right, fellas. So first off, I wanted to show you different styles and of popping corks. And one of the styles that I do not have on here is the long skinny ones. They're probably the length of this one here, and they're kind of long and skinny, kind of like a paddle tail. They're kind of long and skinny, kind of like this. Okay, and then they have that metal piece in between. Now, one of the reasons there's so many different kinds is they have different noises, and the long skinny one is very good for they make different sounds. Okay, that's kind of the whole thing about it's a popping cork, right? And the longer skinny ones, it's actually very good when there's not a lot of wind, when it's a little quiet, and they make a sound of a shrimp. Okay, so when you pop it, it has a sound underwater like a shrimp. It's like a clicking noise. That's actually a decent trout right there. see. Let's see what that is. It's probably like 15. 14 and a quarter. One of my favorite, and okay, let me just kind of go through the different sounds. So the long skinny one makes a sound like a shrimp, and these round ones like these, they make the gulp, the suction noise, kind of like a when a trout hits or when a red hits the water, kind of a suction thing. And so when you're popping that cork and it's making that noise, these fish hear that and they're going, hey, you know, George is over there eating, let's go over there and take that fish away from him, take that bait away from him. So he must be on the bait. So they head over there, and that's kind of the whole reason for popping corks. It kind of draws them in. Instead of you trying to find them, it draws them in. Usually it's a pretty good span of how far it is. About another 14 inch. Now these other ones like this style, it's kind of a it makes a similar sound of these round ones. It's kind of a general popping cork. These are the ones you typically see at at Walmart or, you know, regular bait shops. Mainly I would say I typically these have the weights on them, and I typically stay away from those. Yes, you can throw them far, and if you plan to, like, you know, get your one of your children and just tell them to go watch this cork, then that's a good. These are good. They come pre-rigged and they're all set up. Now, speaking of rigging them up, I personally like to use the plastics underneath, generally some sort of fish or paddle tail. Like this is a chicken buoy, and yeah, you don't need live bait. You can use this, and when you pop them, you know that paddle tail acts like a live bait. Now, generally, the way you rig these up, let me kind of go through these really quick, these brands. This is actually one of my favorite ones. It is from Red Alert Lures. If you haven't heard of them, go check them out. redalertlures.com. Has this logo on it here. It's like a flag redfish tail, and that man is a veteran owned, and pretty good. He's got some pretty good products, and he doesn't just make popping corks. He has jig heads, and I think he even has reels at this point. Pretty good things. One of the things I like about this is it's flexible. If it won't, these other ones, they're like a rod, and if you bend them, they will bend and stay bent. And you know, that's never any good actually. So these are, he's got a cable running through them and it'll last forever. Now this one is the knockers. They're actually very nice. It's actually, I think it's actually wood, and they all have different sounds. This has a deeper sound than this one. Some are like this. They all have their own little sound. This one, the ones that you get at Walmart, they're actually very good. The Cajun Thunders. One of the reasons why I like them is they have the copper bearings, and they make a really nice sound. It tends to make a difference on the sound. So find one that you like and stick with it. Usually it's a good deal. Here is another one from Red Alert Lures. He has a weight on it. Actually, is this Red Alert Lures? No, this is not Red Alert Lures. I think this is H&H. I tend to stay away from the weighted ones, mainly because they sit so low in the water. I believe this one has a weight on it. And one of the cool things is this will lay sideways, and then when the lure that you have on the end finally drops down, it'll sit upright. So you kind of know when the lure has floated down and it's at the bottom. So that tells me when I should be popping it. Okay. Generally it's a 10 seconds, but usually what I'll do is I'll pop it like 2 or 3 times right away, pop, 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 and then let it sit. That'll allow the lure to come up and then come back down. Okay. So now rigging it. Generally what you're going to do is you're going to put about a 2-foot leader on it. Okay, why 2 feet? For one, any longer than that, it becomes very hard to throw. Okay, you're trying to throw this big long thing. You know, it's not fun. It's not easy. You'll get hung up and everything like that. Now, that being said, that's in, 3 feet of water, and up, up to 10 feet of water, whatever. They will come to the top to feed. Now, if you're fishing shallower, like a foot and a half, something just barely 2 feet, you're gonna want to shorten this leader. Okay, make it a foot, make it shorter, because you don't want that just sitting on the ground. So shorten the leader, tie it here, and then tie whatever you want on the bottom. So remember that. So 2 feet is above, let's say 2.5 feet. 2 feet a leader for any water above 2.5 feet. Anything below that, you want to go probably a foot of leader at the bottom. Okay. Now, I typically will use a jig head on the bottom with a shrimp lure or a paddle tail. The more little fringes that you have, especially if you're using a shrimp style lure, the better. For them to have all that movement is what they're attracted to. So that being said, like I said before, I tend to stay away from the weighted ones because they sit too low in the water. Okay, guys. So to recap, these are popping corks. Use them as such. There's a reason why they call them popping corks. When you throw it out there, pop, pop, pop. That starts it. That starts the reaction. They're like, hey, the fish kind of stick their head up. What's that? What was that? Okay. And they'll start working. Now, if you're not seeing any kind of, if they're not hitting it within a few minutes after popping it and that, roll it up, throw it in a different area. Okay, fan cast just like you normally would on in the water, and do it that way. And I guarantee you'll get something. You'll get something hitting it. There'd be pinfish, but mainly, you know, it attracts them. Don't discount the popping cork. All right, guys, that's my video for today. Tight lines. Let's go fishing.